Let's focus in the next 15, 16 minutes on this familiar story that I read from Matthew's Gospel of Jesus walking on the water. I'm going to tell you right up front that if I was ever asked to choose 5 or 6 scripture passages that were my favorite, this would be one. Now maybe you're saying to yourself, yeah, and I've heard this story read a zillion times, and I've probably heard almost that many messages on it. Is he going to be say anything new today that come at it from a different perspective, something I haven't heard before? No, I don't think so. I really don't. But, I'm not sure that matters, does it? Well, here's the story. The disciples are in a boat. They're somewhere on the Sea of Galilee. It's just before dawn, so it's dark. I think there's a saying, isn't there, that it's always the darkest right before the light? Well, maybe there was a full moon that night. And if so, then there would have been some light sparkling off the water. But we don't know that. Now, the disciples are busying themselves just trying to keep the boat afloat. There's been this tremendous storm that's blown up. High winds, awesome waves. They're having trouble just keeping afloat. As they're doing so, a couple of them just happen to look up, and they're out somewhere on the lake at a little bit of distance. There's a strange sight. There's these high waves, but it looks as if there's a person out there bobbing up and down in the water. It looks strange. It almost looks as if he's walking on the water. And as they look more intently, it's like they recognize this guy. It looks like Jesus. And he's walking on the water. Pretty amazing, isn't it? Or maybe a better word is scary. Now, this is no small pond we're talking about here. Because my research tells me that the Sea of Galilee is about 13 miles long and maybe about 8 miles wide. In other words, it's a good-sized body of water, heart-shaped, in case you didn't know that. Now, my research didn't tell me how deep the water gets in the Sea of Galilee, but you'd kind of assume that a body of water that big, the water's going to be over your head. Now, unless the disciples' boat is just a few yards offshore, then the water's deep. We're told, Matthew says, they are a significant distance from the shoreline. So yeah, it's deep. But Jesus is there, and he's walking on the top of those waves. It's some picture, isn't it? A scary one, I think. Especially if you would picture yourself as being in that boat. No wonder they were afraid. I would have been afraid. I mean, who's going to expect to see somebody walking on the top of waves? Surfboarding, that's a possibility, but surfboards weren't around back in those days, I don't think. Somehow Jesus senses their fear. And he cries out to them, "Take courage, you guys, it's just me, don't be afraid." I don't know how easy it was for him to say that in his situation, but I'm pretty sure it wasn't easy for the disciples to hear it in theirs. He's not in the boat. He's not watching this incredible sight. But it's those words that bring us to the most powerful moment in this story. Because right away, the mind begins to think, uh-oh, what's going to happen next? Do the disciples move over and give Jesus the place to sit in the boat next to them? Or do they all jump out of the boat and join him in the water, kind of bobbing party? Or do they huddle in fear and try to remind themselves, hey, human beings don't walk on the top of the water. This has got to be some kind of mind game that Jesus is playing with us. So what happens? Not really an awful lot when you look at the situation. No one does anything. No one in the boat moves except Peter. And you probably expect that because Peter was always the most impulsive of the disciples. He's the only one who responds, and he does so by calling out, Lord, if that's you out there, then tell me to come to you on the water. Now, that was a big moment. A defining moment, says Joyce Meyer. A powerful faith moment, because it points us to Peter's level of faith in Jesus as being the Son of God. And it's him and him only who even thinks about getting out of that boat and walking on the water toward Jesus. He's the only one who had enough faith to do that. Now, was it 100% faith? No, far from it. Remember, when Jesus replied, he called out, if it's you. Two-letter word. A little bit. A real big word in Peter's faith journey, as it can be in our own faith journeys. Because I have to ask, how many of us, myself included in here, how many of us would have gotten out of that boat? I ask it because it would be very easy for any one of us to say, Lord, I can see you, and you're out there on the water, and I believe that I could, or probably could walk on the water to you. Could. Probably could. But would you? Would I? Yeah, do I have the kind of faith? Do I have the level of faith that would have allowed me to step out of that boat? Only Peter did. And he only had it for a few moments. But he was the only one of the 12 to do so. And he did it even though he wasn't 100% sure that this was the right step for him to take. But he did it. He took it. And he took it because he alone had just enough faith to do it. Now, you heard the end of the story. You already knew it anyway, but you heard the end of it. And so you might be saying to yourself, now, yeah, big deal. Got out of the boat, started to walk in the water, took 2, 3, maybe 4 steps. But when he saw the situation, the waves, the wind, he got scared and he began to sink. And the storm got the best of him. And right away, Jesus rebukes him. Peter, you of little faith, why did you doubt? So you see, that is what happened. Peter's less than 100% faith caused him to start to sink. Did he sink gradually? Or did he drop under like a ship's anchor? We don't know. And it's not really important to know which it was. All we know is that he began to sink, and as he did, Jesus shouts at him, you of little faith. So what's the implication here? I don't know what it is for you, but I can tell you what it is for me. It's that while Peter did not have 100% faith that would have allowed him to walk all the way on the water to Jesus, he at least had a little faith. He had at least a faith as large as a tiny mustard seed, to use one of Jesus' other teaching words. And that was more faith than any of the other disciples had. In fact, let me go out on a limb. No, I'll go out on a wave here. That was more faith than all the 11 disciples had put together at that moment. Because at that time, they had nothing. Not one of them moved an inch. Not one of them, except for Peter, said a word. So maybe as Joyce Meyer suggests in one of her books, maybe we ought to see these words of Jesus not as a rebuke of Peter for his little faith. Maybe we ought to see them as words of encouragement to Peter and to us in this defining moment of his life. Because he was the only one with enough faith, small as it was, to step out of the boat and to begin to walk in the stormy waters of everyday life. Okay, he heard the wind, he saw the waves, he got afraid, and he began to sink. And what's he do? He does something very good. He does something that probably you and I would do. He cries out, "Lord, save me." Have you figured out why this is one of my top 5 or 6 favorite stories in the Bible? Well, if you haven't, I can tell you why. It's because I see me. I see me up here. Because I'm one of those who lives each day at less than 100% faith. And the only one who can keep me afloat in the turbulent surf of everyday life. Oh, I want to be sure. And I do tend to be sure, but I tend to be sure after the defining moment has passed. After I've had time to go back into my closet and my study and dig things through and try to figure them all out in my own mind. Then, I become sure. But at the very height of those moments, I'm Peter. Yeah, I'm Peter to a T. Because I start to sink. And sometimes I sink gradually, and sometimes I sink like a ship's anchor. And the reason I do is because, like Peter, I too am one of those of little faith. At least I have a little faith. And I think it increases in size, slowly, bit by bit. It increases after each of these defining moments in my life has passed. Because that's when I find myself with hesitancy, but I find myself putting my left foot in the water. And when that goes okay, I put my right foot in. And that's followed by my left leg. And comes my right leg. And you know what? Eventually I get my whole self in the water. Because I know, and I may only know it for a fleeting moment, but I know that Jesus is right there with me. Whispering, shouting, a word of encouragement. He reaches out and he says, "Take courage, man. Take courage. It's me. Don't be afraid. Come. Come." It was back in the mid-50s. And there was this college guy who had been struggling for a couple of years as to what he was going to do with the rest of his life once he graduated from college. It's not a nice situation to be in because, well, if you don't know what you're doing when you're studying, you don't know what you're studying for, and quite likely, as with this guy, his grades were showing that. Now, over the past few years, he had felt what you might call some gentle touches, nudges, but he had dismissed them mainly because he saw himself as someone with not much more than a little faith. It was either a Friday or Saturday night, and he and some of his friends were, they were in a bar not far from the college campus doing what college students did back in those days. He was sitting there nursing his third beer of the night. All of a sudden, another one of these touches came. Not as gentle as they had been in the past, but stronger. And with that nudge, some words flashed through his mind. Those words went something like this: "Come, even you of little faith. Take courage. Come." It was like that cry to Peter, "Get out of the boat. to stop walking on the crashing